What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another Spawn Sunday. So, to continue our coverage over Spawn, we are actually going to cover Curse of Spawn number 23 and 24. Now, you're probably wondering, hey Fresh, what in the world are you doing? Because we just covered Spawn number 6 and number 7. How in the world are we going to jump to a completely different series and on top of that, jump in the middle of that series? Well, when it comes to Curse of Spawn number 23 and 24, it literally takes place right after Spawn number 6 and number 7. And so even though these two books were written years later after Spawn number 6 and 7, it takes place right after it. Because remember, in our last video, we saw the death of Overkill, and this storyline right here actually brings him back to life. And you're probably wondering, hey Fresh, how in the world are they going to bring this man back to life? Because he was blown up by Spawn. Don't worry, there is a way to bring him back to life because it is comic books. Comic books always find a way to bring back dead characters. Now, with that being said, we actually pick up in Northern Greenland. Now, when we do, we actually pick up with a new character. Now, this character at first, we have no idea who he is, what his name is, but we do see him right now going to a particular laboratory. Now, at the end of this section, we do learn that his name is Heisman. Now, when it comes to Heisman, he's going to be very important for this chapter only. We're covering 2 books here, but he's only going to appear in this book, and that is it. Because at the end of this book, Homeboy is going to die, but he is the way how Overkill will come back to life. And you see what I mean as we go through this chapter. Now, the next section is really used as a way for us to explore the origin of Dr. Heisman. Now, his origin is actually going to give us a reason on why in the world he's trying to bring back Overkill for. Now, with that being said though, when we actually jump into his origin, we do learn right off the bat that he was an only child. He had a mom, he had a dad, and they all lived a great life until his mom was killed off by a drunk driver. Now, his father had to raise him by himself. Being a single father is hard. But when it came to his father, his dad still tried his best. And when it comes to Dr. Heisman, he said, my dad was probably one of the best dads in the world. Now, of course, once he got older, his dad also got sick. Now, his dad was slowly dying. And so what Dr. Heisman tried to do was, because he went to college and learned about robots, he was trying to build his dad a robot body to make his dad a cyborg. Now, unfortunately, before he was able to actually finish the project, his father died. And so that right there broke him and kind of left him depressed and just traveling around the world. Now, that was the moment he was told that he has a half brother, that apparently before his dad met his mom, his dad met with another lady and she had a child, and that child was actually Overkill. Now, this is going to be the origin of Overkill as well, because you have Dr. Heisman say, once he had heard about his brother, he decided to go out in the world to find his brother, because this is great news, because now he has family again. He has a half brother out there that he wants to actually bond with. Now, this next section is going to be a tad bit hard for Dr. Heisman. And what I mean by that is because as soon as he learned he had a brother, he began to learn more about his brother. And he learned that his brother was actually an hitman. Now, he didn't mind about that because he has a brother. He has family once again. Now, at this point, Overkill was not a cyborg yet. Matter of fact, he was just your regular guy out there who was a hitman. Now, when it came to Dr. Heisman about to meet up with his brother for the first time somewhere in the public area, well, as soon as he saw his brother and he was about to cross the street to meet his brother, well, that is the moment his brother was shot down by a bunch of men carrying a bunch of guns. Now, he didn't die, but of course, he's near death. And so what you have Dr. Heisman say, you know what? I am going to build my brother a cyborg body. Now, unfortunately, Homeboy had no money. And so he went to his brother's boss because he knew his brother was a hitman and someone had to hire his brother to be a hitman. And so he went to Don Partino. Now, when it comes to Don Partino, at first, he didn't care about his brother. He's like, dude, he's a hitman. They always die and I find a new one. But then you have Dr. Heisman say, you understand, I can make my brother into the perfect cyborg killing machine. And then right there, you'll be able to sell him for different targets across the world for different people who want other folks dead. It's the perfect money making machine. And I also get my brother back. And so just like that, you have Don and Dr. Heisman agree to take Overkill and turn him into a cyborg machine. And that is how he became the cyborg he was back in Spawn number 6 and number 7. And so for Dr. Heisman, everything was great. Even though his brother is now this cyborg killing machine hitman, either way, it was still great because he still had his brother. But on top of that, they were able to build a brother bond between each other. It was a great time for Dr. Heisman. Now, over time, his brother was able to make a lot of money and buy them a house to stay in together as brothers. It was going great for them. But then this leads us right into Spawn number 6 and number 7. And of course, we know what happened in those two books right there. Overkill was sent over to New York to fight Spawn. They fought once. He won, but then Spawn came back for round 2, and Spawn won round 2, killing off Overkill. And so when Overkill died, of course, Dr. Heisman got the call to say, hey, I'm sorry to tell you, but your brother is dead. He was literally blown up, and now he's gone forever. Now, once Dr. Heisman heard the news, he does go over to New York. And when he does go over to New York, of course, he tries to find all the different pieces of his brother, which he's able to do because when it comes to all his family members over time that he lost, the only person that he can bring back is his brother. And so he begins the process of actually rebuilding his brother, making his brother a newer body so that he'll be able to say, I have my brother again. But here comes the problem though. Because he was killed off while fighting Spawn, it seems to be that he's still full of rage once he does come back to life, once he does come back online. Because as soon as his brother turns him back on and to greet the return of his brother, you have Overkill actually grab his brother and kill him off. And that's why I said, when it comes to Dr. Heisman, he is important in the return of Overkill, but at the same time, after this book right here, he's no longer that important at all, because Homeboy dies just like that. Now, with that being said, it seems to be that Overkill is no more, that now he's calling himself Overt War. Either way, you can call him Overkill or Overwar, but he's now alive again and he could go after Spawn in the near future. And so getting into Curse of Spawn number 24, we actually jump over to Area 51. Now the reason why, because we actually pick up with a new character who only appears once ever in the Spawn universe, but he does have connections to Overkill. This is a way for us to kind of learn a tad bit more about Overtkill. Now, with that being said though, this character, his name is Pandemic. Now, the reason why he's being held as a prisoner in Area 51 is because he knows some dark secrets about the American government. Unfortunately though, when they had put him away in a regular prison, he broke out and killed off a bunch of guards. And so every time he does that, they kind of upgrade him to a more tighter security prison. And now he's at the point where there was an entire prison built at Area 51 just for him. But he knows that sooner or later, he'll be able to actually escape, get out of there and kill off more guards and reveal the dark secrets of the American government. Now, like I said earlier, he does have connections to Overkill. It's a way for us to learn more about Overkill past, but also Pandemic as well. And so that is the moment we begin the process of actually diving into Pandemic's origin. And so that is the moment where we do dive into his origin. And when we do, we actually pick up with Pandemic at a young age, where he tells us that at a young age, he loved America, that he looked up to a lot of different people in the past, American heroes, as role models. So George Washington, Lincoln, and the list goes on and on. But he looked at them as role models, but at the same time, he loved his country. And so he joined the Navy. Now, when he did join the Navy, he was actually able to move up very quickly in the ranks of the Navy. And matter of fact, became a captain of his own ship. Now, he was also able to meet someone, and I say meet someone, I mean he found love and they got engaged. But everything changed when he came back home to America. Because when he came back to America, he went to see one of his friends at a veteran hospital. But when he got there, he saw how bad things are for veterans who need help from the government, but also need help from the healthcare system. That technically, they don't get help most of the time. Most of the time, they're left behind. And so you have a lot of vets right now who are just in the hospital, slowly dying off, are being turned away because again, they couldn't actually help them. And so when he realized that, he begins to learn how corrupt the government truly was. And he began to learn what people in the government are truly corrupt. And so what he tried to do was he went to the president to tell the president, hey man, listen, the government system is corrupted and these people right here are the reason why. But the president was not trying to actually listen to him. And so the president had him kicked out of the White House. And so now technically he has no one else to go to with the information that he has about how corrupt the government truly is. Now that is the moment we see that this begins the true downfall for Pandemic, because what he actually tells us is that when it came to him knowing the secrets of people who are corrupted in the American system, and also the person who may be pulling the strings behind the scenes when it comes to the American government, they begin to kill off anybody who may look for him once they capture him. So his parents, gone just like that. His fiance, gone just like that. Because they want them all gone so that when they capture him, nobody can come looking for him. He is officially locked up. Now, once they do lock him up, he was able to get out of almost every single prison they had put him in. And we saw that earlier. He told us that every single prison they put him in, he was able to get out. And that is why he is at Area 51, because they had to make him a very special kind of prison to make sure that he cannot get out of there at all. Now that is the moment where we do jump back to the present day. Now when we jump back to the present day, it's right now Pandemic being confronted by some official. And matter of fact, he says, listen man, I got a job for you because I need you right now to go out there and kill Overkill. Now, this is where we kind of see how Pandemic is tied into Overkill. And matter of fact, this part right here takes place after Curse of Spawn number 23. Because right now you have this guy telling Pandemic that Overkill was the one who actually killed off his fiance. And so with him killing off his fiance, it's a way for Pandemic to work for the American military or the government to go get revenge against Overkill, but at the same time to stop Overkill. Because right now Overkill just came back to life. And remember, when he did, he was full of rage. And because he's full of rage and looking for Spawn, he's right now wrecking New York City. And so they need him to technically come out and be a higher killer and take out Overkill before New York is completely wiped out, because Overkill is looking for Spawn. Now, this is where you kind of realize that the American government messed up when it came to releasing Pandemic. Because yes, they do believe that he will actually work for them. And they do give him some weapons to use as a way to kill off Overkill, because apparently he's such a great killer. Except when he does meet Overkill, Overkill keeps saying, I am looking for Spawn. I want Spawn. And so you have Pandemic actually deal with the idea of saving New York by telling Overkill, oh, I know where Spawn is at, but you have to follow me. And this technically leads into the end of today's video, but you have Pandemic actually take Overkill, or Overt War, over to Area 51, the military base that was actually his prison, Pandemic's prison, as a way to get back at them, but to make sure that no one can come after him. And so now Pandemic is a free man, and Overkill just took out a whole military base just because he was looking for Spawn. Even though he didn't find Spawn, at least his rampage is in the middle of the desert and away from New York. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.